It's a day ending in Y here in Canada, and you all know what that means. There's internal chaos inside of Justin Trudeau's Liberal government. Like, it's become mesmerizing to me how badly the Liberals are at politics. They've not been able to stabilize themselves whatsoever in the past year, either internally or in their public image. They get walloped by the Conservatives every single day, like hockey jersey pulled over the face and being slammed over and over again, and they have not figured out a way of pulling out of this death spiral. And really, it is a death spiral because they are not going to be able to correct course on this one. They've betrayed people's trust too often, and now it's just the blame game until the end. And we even have close friends of Justin Trudeau resigning from cabinet and saying they're not going to run again. I'm always skeptical of when anyone says they're just resigning, they just decided to. Oftentimes, it's that either they don't think they can win again, they're not just, doing different things now. Oh, I want to go spend time with my family. Oh, I have new opportunities. No, you're either going to lose, the leader told you to leave, or you hate the leader's guts, so you are leaving. And the most recent man to say he's not going to be running in the next election is Justin Trudeau's groomsman from his wedding, Seamus O'Regan, our current seniors minister, I think labor minister, and at the very start of his tenure, I believe he was the natural resource minister. 3 jobs he was terrible at. He just posted his statement on why he's leaving a few hours ago. I'm not going to read it for you. It is full of complete garbage. It's just stuff like, I did such great work and me and Justin Trudeau are the best of friends. And everything's just so great in Canada. That's why I'm leaving. Really, he's leaving because the polling's terrible. I guess I have to correct myself. The Liberals have stabilized some things inside of their government, but it's just the terrible polling. They have stabilized themselves around the low to mid 20s in the polls. They used to be neck and neck with the Conservatives, even when Pierre Poilievre was the leader of the Conservative Party early on. You'll see in 2023 there, just when Pierre Poilievre started being the leader, they could be within 2 or 3 points of the Conservatives. But the Conservatives actually painted a positive vision for the country, and the Liberals have just been fighting old battles they already lost over and over again, like in my last video about the Liberals continuing to not stop talking about the carbon tax. Nobody likes the carbon tax. Anybody who does like it is already on board. There's no undecided individuals or people willing to change their position on the carbon tax. If you start calling it the carbon rebate or a price on polluters, nobody cares. It's all terrible. And speaking of the last video, I heard what you guys said, and I did get the haircut that a lot of people were saying I needed to get. I was already pre-scheduled, so none of you weasels made me get a haircut. But I thought that was just funny. The day before, I was like, oh, goodness, I really need to get a haircut. Some people were commenting on that. But to dig a little bit deeper in the polling here, in Mr. Seamus O'Regan's riding specifically, it's a bloodbath. You see here in Terra Nova, the Pensulas, I don't know how to say that, they are projecting that the Conservatives would get 50% of the vote, Seamus O'Regan and the Liberals only 37, and the NDP 9, giving the Conservatives a 96% chance of picking up this riding. The riding's called something different now, but through redistricting, the name's changed. But yeah, I think mostly the real reason Seamus O'Regan is leaving is because there's nothing left for him to do. He's not a very good minister. I doubt that Justin Trudeau encouraged him to stick around. Trudeau wants the idea, he wants the kind of veneer that things in the Liberal government have the capacity to change. Because look, we got rid of this cabinet minister and we swapped someone else in, when they all might as well just be wearing human face masks of Justin Trudeau. Because everybody knows inside the Liberal Party, nobody picks up and drinks from a glass of water without express written permission by Justin Trudeau himself. It's kind of like the reverse of the Biden administration in the US. Biden kind of just signs off on a lot of stuff people around him do. And so there's a lot of powerful secretaries inside of the Biden administration. He's much more of a laid back president, partially because he is 81 years old. Whereas Justin Trudeau is deeply incompetent, but for some reason needs everyone to run things by him first, even though he can't get through a single speech without falling all over himself because he just doesn't know what he's talking about, which is hilarious because you think as an actor, he would be better at being able to stabilize himself and how he speaks in front of crowds. It's like, no, unless he is reading off a teleprompter, it's ums and ahs all the way through. He does that more than I do, and I'm not exactly a great public speaker. I've only done it once or twice before, and even that was the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my life. But now, before I go on to the backstabbing fight that Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau are having, although Chrystia Freeland is such a weak character herself, she's just kind of letting herself get ousted from her current position as finance minister. It hasn't happened yet, but Justin Trudeau is making all the noises, and people inside the PMO are making all the noises about, wouldn't it be interesting if Mark Carney became the finance minister? Oh, we love Chrystia Freeland, but wouldn't it be great if Chrystia Freeland just was pushed off the side of a building? Like, that's kind of what's going on right now inside the Liberal Party. But this polling is very interesting because it demonstrates the idea that even Liberals right now want a lot of change, that even if they say they're voting for the Liberal government in the next election, they want a lot of changes to be made. And Justin Trudeau is kind of trying to, pantomime, mimic the idea he's trying to make changes, but at the end of the day, he's just incapable of making real changes, because real change would come from the top. And Justin Trudeau has never changed his style in the past. He merely changes the visuals that you see of who's minister where and when. I want to get to an analogy I have later for that too. Well, let's start where it's most obvious in terms of who's angry with the government. And we have here, it shows that 83% of federal Conservative Party supporters are angry with the current federal government in, different, and this just shows different phrases that define the way that Conservatives think of the current federal government. Not very important. Really, just the top line number is important. Makes sense. 83% of federal Conservatives are angry. You would wonder, why isn't it 100? Sometimes that's just up to people who are very wealthy, very well off. Usually you're not going to be as emotionally passionate about things compared to people who are struggling. Jump over, and this is very devastating for Jagmeet Singh. 53% of federal NDP voters are angry towards the federal government. That's pretty bad, considering that Jagmeet Singh might as well be the co-prime minister right now. He does control a lot of government policy, or at least he could control more government policy if he actually had a backbone, but either he is assisting Justin Trudeau in passing terrible policies. Actually, I'm going to backtrack here. I actually don't think that NDP supporters dislike the current federal government and Jagmeet Singh's popularity numbers have fallen because they're upset that Jagmeet Singh is too, complicitory. I don't know. He shills too much for the Liberals. He's too much of a Liberal suck up. It has nothing to do with it. I think people are realizing that just Jagmeet Singh and the NDP's policy book is unpopular, because as soon as the Liberals had to partner up with the NDP, it became very apparent that outside of just the extremism of each party, how far they want to take public policy, how far they want to push big government policy, there wasn't that much different. So I think a lot of people just realize that the NDP's just orange Liberals and the Liberals are just red NDP. And so that's what I think ended up exposing the NDP. The best case scenario for the NDP is they're in an opposition situation where they get to complain about everything in a very hyperbolic manner. Like the NDP is going to become more popular once Pierre Poilievre is the prime minister, because they can absolutely blow their top on everything. They can freak out, light their hair on fire, and say, "I can't believe you lowered taxes. That's like racism or whatever. Oh, that's sexist to deregulate agriculture." They need something like that to come up against, and right now the NDP have nothing to complain about. As soon as the NDP have power, people don't like them. That's why in so many provinces across Canada, either NDP governments or NDP parties are being defeated, or the ones who are succeeding are basically having to divorce themselves from the ideology of the federal NDP, like in Manitoba. Those who are stalwart with it, like David Eby in British Columbia, are falling apart despite having every advantage going into the next election. And now, finally, let's look at the numbers of federal Liberal Party supporters who are currently mad at the federal government that they are pledging to vote for. This might have been people who voted Liberal in 2021, but to be fair, about 75% of people tend to stick with the party they voted for last time. In a change election like we have coming up next year, it's going to be more than that, but that's the conventional wisdom. 17% of federal Liberal supporters are angry with the current government. Now, in a certain sense, I think this is just because so many federal Liberal Party supporters over time didn't even know what they wanted, because the Liberals have in a certain sense, given them what they voted for. They just turns out they don't like what they voted for. It is the joke of the Jaguar, the leopards eating people's faces party. You voted for the leopards eating people's faces party, and you're shocked that the leopards started eating your face. Uh, the liberals, they're thinking, oh, the economy sucks, inflation's so bad, everything costs so much, and you're like, but you voted for more program spending, for more money printing, for more regulations, for more taxes, all this stuff, and you're surprised things cost more. Like, I don't want to cram down on people too much because obviously a lot of people don't look deeply into politics. Most people don't even decide who they're voting for or don't even start cluing into what the election issues are that are defining the race until like a few days beforehand. I saw a poll the other day that JJ McCullough had posted some results from that showed about only 65% of people knew who Pierre Poilievre was by seeing a photo of him. It actually might have been only 53% and 65 knew what his name was. That's scary in a certain sense. Pierre Poilievre could be the most powerful man in Canada, and people don't know who he is. I don't mean like that from the perspective of, oh, they don't know Pierre Poilievre, fearmonger. I mean it in the sense that, he's a very important player in Canadian politics, and almost half the country doesn't know who the guy is. Like, we need way better civics education in Canada in our for like social studies or whatever we do these days. But now I'm going to jump over to what's going on with Chrystia Freeland, but I'm going to pause this video for a second because I'm stupid and didn't realize my computer is about to run out of power. Sorry about that. Crisis averted. But to take us into our next segment, I'm just going to quickly play some news coverage of the current fighting between kind of silent. There's a bit of a Cold War going on, but the fighting between Chrystia Freeland's office and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the upcoming cabinet meeting, which sounds like the only agenda item is pushing Chrystia Freeland over the side of the ship.
Canada's Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, also the Finance Minister, is one of the highest profile members of Team Trudeau. She routinely travels the country, giving news conferences and trying to hype the government's record, especially nowadays amid very polling numbers. But today, a report from the Globe and Mail that her future could be in doubt, that Trudeau advisors are apparently questioning her abilities as an effective communicator. And the newspaper also saying the relationship between her office and Justin Trudeau's office has become tense, leading to speculation about the possibility of Mark Carney, former Bank of Canada governor, jumping into politics. Who knows? Let's bring in our national correspondent.
I'm actually not going to play any more of that. I realize that segment might be very quiet. That's the annoying thing. StreamYards does not boost the audio of clips that I play to like equalize them with my mic volume. So sometimes it's just like you'll hear me quite loud and then it's like a drop off. You can still hear it, but it's hard. But basically what's happening is that there's been leaking going on between Freeland's office and Trudeau's office. Obviously, it started with Trudeau, people saying that, oh, yes, the Prime Minister's just disappointed in Chrystia Freeland's performance on marketing the Liberal government's financial strategies, their economic plans. She's just not been up to snuff. Let's be clear. Freeland and Trudeau are both terrible at their jobs. They both suck at their jobs. Maybe Freeland's even more incompetent than Trudeau because she even listens to him, which is a sign of true stupidity. But what we have going on right now is that Freeland is basically taking, or they're going to try and make Freeland take the fall for not marketing Trudeau's terrible policies properly. It's obviously just because the policies suck. There's no way of polishing these turds to make them seem okay. And now Trudeau's kind of doing this like thing he did exactly to Bill Morneau. And a lot of news starts coming out of PMO staffers saying, "Oh, Chrystia Freeland, just not a good egg. Oh, Bill Morneau really letting down the Prime Minister." And when people started calling out this pattern, because Trudeau is just not very good at politics, he's kind of good at it, but really the name recognition of being a Trudeau is like 80% of his political power. As soon as the media started noticing, well, you're doing to Freeland exactly what you did to Morneau, and then Trudeau runs out of his office and says, "No, I love Chrystia Freeland. We embrace on a daily basis. I love her. She's the best finance minister ever. Also, I really like Mark Carney, and maybe Chrystia Freeland should die." Like it's been not very subtle. Even while he's trying to walk it back, PMO staffers keep hyping up the fact that, oh, Mark Carney is talking with Justin Trudeau. Maybe this is going to be a new finance minister. And he wouldn't even deny in a press conference that he might just not let, like, he might, maybe Chrystia Freeland doesn't stay on as the finance minister. And I gotta say, if you're Mark Carney right now and you're dumb enough to become the finance minister to prop up Trudeau for another year, you're an idiot. You could actually potentially be the Liberal Party leader with a real shot to becoming the prime minister if you just wait until after 2025, you let Trudeau get absolutely clobbered by Pierre Poilievre, then you run for leader. This is the same hostage situation that's currently happening inside the Democratic Party in the US. They want Biden to go, but nobody really wants to be the presidential candidate, because why wouldn't you just want a clean shot for 2028 and run on your own terms rather than being the candidate that really represents the last shriek on the retreat? Would Gavin Newsom going to run this year, with no money on hand right now, no name recognition that doesn't actually extend across the entire country because you haven't had the time to build it? It's scary how a lot of people probably in the US also don't know who Gavin Newsom is, even though he's been the governor of California for quite a while, and then the mayor of San Francisco before that. But you need a while to become just not known in your state, but known across the country, and nobody wants to take over. But Mark Carney is, I guess, doing it the opposite direction, that for some reason now he wants to get involved in politics, not even be an elected MP and become the finance minister, just become the finance minister without being an actual MP, which is allowed. It does look bad, so I don't know why the Liberals think this is going to give them a shot in the arm. Truly, the Liberals are in their Gary Sharon era, if we assume the Liberal Party is Van Halen. The David Lee Roth era ended a long time ago. It ended before the 2019 election. I'm not saying that the Liberals used to be good. I'm just saying in terms of their public popularity. Then their Sammy Hagar era was, 2018 to basically 2021. They were able to muscle through the last election because they were running against Aaron O'Toole, who is basically a default win. Aaron O'Toole is running against you in politics, you get to win. You don't even have to try at that point. And now, after that, now we are in the Gary Sharon version of Van Halen for the Liberal Party. We are just bringing in recognizable names from other walks of life, because Gary Sharon was from Extreme or whatever. I don't even really listen to that much music, especially rock music. I just like the analogy here. But we're in the Gary Sharon era. Mark Carney is Justin Trudeau's Gary Sharon, and he's coming in to pretend that this is a new professionalized version, very responsible, fresh Liberal Party. It's not. Nobody thinks it is. Nobody thinks anyone in the Liberal Party does anything without Justin Trudeau's express written permission. I don't even think Mark Carney will be given any more leeway than anybody else was given. So what is this really doing for them? It's just swapping up the faces right before the ship goes down. Chrystia Freeland, if anything, it's also going to open up some rifts between sort of the corporate Bay Street liberals, who actually are decently warm to Chrystia Freeland. They like Trudeau too, but she'd be popular in those Bay Street sort of ridings. A lot of financial people would like her. A lot of media people like Chrystia Freeland because she is one of them. If you're a liberal legacy media journalist. She actually used to be a fine journalist back in the day too, which is sad that she's devolved to this point. But she used to be one of them. They like her. So knifing her at this point is only going to tick off Justin Trudeau with his Toronto base. Justin Trudeau very much is still a Montreal politician. He's very popular in Montreal. And his appeal in Toronto only works if he has other power players inside of Toronto who are also on his side. You cut off Chrystia Freeland at the knees and then just throw her in as the deputy prime minister, and that's it. She's effectively just a figurehead. You could lose University Rosedale. Maybe Freeland says, I'm not running again. I've been disrespected after being your bag man for so many years. They just lost Toronto St. Paul. There's no saying they couldn't lose a lot of other ridings in the city of Toronto. If anything, obviously I'd like the Liberals to lose. I'm a conservative. But if this happens, I want them to toss out Freeland, because it might tick off enough people that if Kevin Vaughn, the independent MP, is then brought into the Conservative caucus, even in the Spadina-Fort York area, he could win as a Conservative, even though that used to be a riding where it was either orange or red. That's crazy to think about, that a red-orange riding can now go blue simply because the King's Court politics that Justin Trudeau has been playing is utterly backfiring on him. He's just whining at this point. But now I just want to quickly jump over to one more video because I found it funny, because it was just the thing that reminded me that Justin Trudeau is not very good at public speaking. He just blathers all over himself while trying to deliver a fairly straightforward message to a group of people. He's just doing some jobs transportation announcement here. And it's Not good. Not good, to say the least. See, these people actually know how to crank up the volume on the clips that they put out. So 1 point for the Liberals there.
What we're doing today is making sure that you guys have good jobs, not just for years to come, but for decades to come. The focus that we're doing right now as a federal government is stepping up with the kind of predictable, long-term transit funding that means that, you know, partners like the City of Toronto and Olivia Chow can plan for not just the next couple of years, but for the next decade and beyond. It's permanent transit funding that's going to make it easier to have those longer term plans that we know is part of it, but it also gives both you the certainty in the...
Imagine how many times he's effectively already repeated himself while saying and ah in a 48-second video. He's repeated so many times that we need certainty in funding so that we can have long-term jobs, and that means we need long-term funding for like whatever.
Work that you're doing, but especially Torontonians, the certainty that transit is going to meet their needs for decades to come.
I even like when you see in the background here, there's guys like looking the other direction. People look super interested in Justin Trudeau, just not looking at him while he's speaking. These people are done. They're just waiting it out until 2025. I think they're hoping that when Donald Trump likely becomes the next U.S. president, that creates like an anti-conservative backlash in Canada that the Liberals can ride. But I don't think so. If anything, every time Justin Trudeau, like obviously they can't compare Poilievre to Trump anymore because of the assassination attempt, and it looks kind of callous to keep hammering on Trump when a lot of the criticisms are just not true. Someone can dislike Trump, but pretending that he's like racist and evil and like Hitler is stupid and defamatory. And then to apply that comparison of Hitler to Trump, then Trump to Poilievre is very in bad taste. So if Trump becomes the U.S. president, if anything, I think it's just going to make more Canadians like Trump, because people are going to be like, the U.S. has jobs. The U.S. is actually prosperous. They're safe. You know, they don't have an immigration issue anymore, and we do. That's what's going to end up, if anything, even further cementing the Liberal defeat, that the person that the Liberals have been attacking the Conservatives with for a year now is doing really well, and Justin Trudeau's not. And I guess I'm just going to leave that there. But if you guys want to donate to the show, donate to our legal fund, help stabilize us, you can go down to the Give, Send, Go link in the description below and donate money to us. We're $30,000 deep in paying for legal fees to defend ourselves from a Chinese billionaire suing us for defamation, a case that in over 2.5 years, he hasn't even submitted a single shred of evidence to prove that we defamed him or even caused him any damages. It's a wacky case. Anything you guys can contribute really helps me and Daniel out. And then on top of that, if you guys want to sign up on my list for getting little political updates for your local areas, if anything interesting ever happens in your local area, go to my website, WyattClaypool.com, also in the description below, or you can just type that in to your search bar, WyattClaypool.com. And if you sign up with on the contact list, it allows me in the future, if I need to, or if there's an interesting race in your area, even if it's just a singular riding, to be able to give out candidate recommendations, groups that you can get involved in, parties you can get involved in, volunteer opportunities, all that. I think that if we actually want to restore Canada, not just to having a conservative government, but a conservative government who's actually going to do good things, we need to stay organized, stay connected, and make sure we can put pressure in the areas that we need it. Anyways, that's it for me today, guys. Have a good one.